Hello, YouTube. Before we go on to explore other planets, I think we should know more about our own, especially its oceans. Paleodiction is a find that is mentioned quite often, but in few words. For the origin of the strange prints found on the seabed from the time of the Silurian up to the geological present remains a mystery, which is unclear how to approach. Paleodiction is the only extant form of life on the planet that is studied only by paleontological methods and only indirectly, at least until recently. According to the fossil record of its activities, these are very interesting tracks if you look at them closely. But what exactly they're so interesting about will require some explanation. The Paleodiction imprint looks like a honeycomb-like tunnel system in the upper layer of sediments. To some people's chagrin, who still imagine only giant monsters down below, the Paleodiction is small. The mesh is hexagonal or much less often square and has a size of 1 to 4 centimeters. The diameter of the tunnel is about 3 millimeters. The labyrinth is connected to the sea or the ocean by a multitude of inclined tubes forming an equally regular structure with a thickness of only 1 millimeter. The total area of the structure does not exceed 1 square meter. That is, this is definitely not the lair of any ancient monster. And the first secret of the Paleodiction is that there are no clear ideas whose lair it may be. A real sensation was the discovery of a modern Paleodiction at the depth of 3.5 kilometers near underwater hot springs, indistinguishable externally from samples tens and hundreds of millions of years old. But it was also abandoned. The problem is that a functioning Paleodiction is invisible. It is hidden under a layer of silt through which thin sloping channels pass, reinforced with some kind of organic matter gluing grains of sand, providing water flow. A structure turns into a relief imprint when a change in condition leads to the death of a biological component, after which the tunnels become clogged with mineral particles and petrification occurs. The reconstruction has shown that the device can and probably should be designed for pumping water, bacteria, particles of decomposing organics forming the upper layer of silt, or, as suggested by the proximity of the modern Paleodiction to an underwater geyser, gases and dissolved minerals necessary for chemosynthetic symbionts are drawn into the inner labyrinth through a system of tubules evenly covering the bottom. Whose symbionts? That's where it's difficult. Attempts to pull this structure over representatives of any of the classes and or even types of animals known to science have not been successful. It is absolutely certain that Paleodiction is not a colony of some worm-like creatures or tiny arthropods. There are no characteristic traces, the work is too subtle, the style is completely different. For example, there are no service facilities typical for colonies of multicellular animals, such as a nesting chamber. Based on the principles of construction and operation, it is possible to bring the Paleodiction closer to sponge-like animals, or with giant unicellular ones, Xion fire force. Cytoplasm spreading through the tunnels or slender rows of semi-independent working cells working harmoniously with flagella, could create the necessary water flow. The problem, however, is that the Paleodiction is an inside-out sponge. Sponges and xenophores build internal skeletons from tiny needles synthesized by them from substances drawn by the current of water, or glued together from silicon nanoparticles. In order to build an underground shelter, you need to dig, and there is nothing to dig unicellular. Sponges are the same unicellular, only organized to a degree almost indistinguishable from an organism. It has not been possible to reconstruct an organism that could build a Paleodiction and then use them. It must be something that does not fit into the traditional ideas. But this is only the first mystery. There is a second one, less obvious, but if you think about it, it's stunning. The Paleodiction have not changed over the past 400 million years, possibly longer if older samples are simply not found. But that's not how it should be. Every creature is an ecological interaction with natural enemies, competitors, and victims. And whether it wants to or not, it must evolve in order to survive. The situation looks as if the Paleodiction exists on its own, in a personal ocean, even if it synthesizes biomass itself with the help of symbionts. This does not explain the absence of natural enemies. And apparently there are really no enemies. None of the samples found shows signs of destruction or repair. This feature brings Paleodiction closer to ctenophores, which are alien to the modern biosphere, unrelated to other animals, and as a result, due to differences in biochemistry, they are not nutritious. Nevertheless, ctenophores have enemies, other ctenophores, as well as fish and turtles, which attack them more often by mistake, mistaking them for jellyfish. And the ctenophores themselves are forced to hunt and therefore evolve in order to keep up with the fleeing plankton. Paleodiction may also be a relic of one of the biospheres of the planet that existed before cryogeny. However, unlike ctenophores, it leads an attached lifestyle which eliminates the need for it to hunt and therefore adapt to changes in the ocean population. But that was a long time ago. Science, on the other hand, does not stand still. Recently, thanks to the application of new methods of molecular analysis and tomography, even to long-known fossils, discoveries have been made very often. Hence, about their possessions. This is not the name of the fossils, of the animals themselves, but of some traces of their vital activity, including literal footprints, such as footprints, but also burrows. Recently, a petrified multi-meter-long burrow of Cretaceous ground squirrels was found, and at first they even mistook this miracle for a tree trunk. Paleodiction are also called frequent finds of honeycomb-like structures in the sediments of the seabed. The Paleodiction consists, again, of very regular geometric mesh of sediment-filled passages dug into the mud. At the same time, the size of the hexagonal cells is 1 to 4 centimeters, while, again, the thickness of the passages is about 1 to 5 millimeters. Horizontal passages are connected to the surface of the sill, that is, to water, by vertical shafts, but the latter are rarely preserved. The most amazing feature of Paleodiction is their timeless character. Recently, it was still believed that the first of them appeared in the Silurian, but now the oldest have been found in the Cambrian strata. Having appeared 500 million years ago, Paleodiction do not change to what can be considered geological modernity. Similar structures have also been found on the ocean floor near black smokers, see my Mariana Trench videos for explanation, and are no more than hundreds of thousands of years old. That is the unwillingness of a certain form of life to evolve or die out for 500 million years is strange in itself. It's even inexplicable. But even more mysterious is the lack of ideas about what a Paleodiction building life form might be. Protozoa or sponges cannot dig passages. Are there any tiny worms breeding chemosynthetic bacteria in the tunnels? However, if the Paleodiction is a nest, then where is at least the nest chamber? And isn't it too cool, such a sophisticated adaptation for Cambrian worms, if they still haven't mastered a social lifestyle? The main thing is, where are these worms? Fossilization, as is known, occurs only during burial. If the Paleodiction appeared at all petrified and was not destroyed by the labors of fish and arthropods digging in the mud, it means that one day it was covered with a thick layer of sediment. And if that's the case, then its builders, whoever they were, should have stayed inside. The builders of the honeycombs, looking at the tunnels turned into stone veins simply with microscopes on sections, they've been looking for a long time. They didn't find anything. But maybe they just didn't have fossilizable tissues. A new assault, so to say, has been already launched, fully armed with molecular biology by scientists. Even if in stone all living things leave a mark, at least in the form of individual molecules. But nothing here. No molecules were found in the Paleodiction indicating the burial of living organisms in the tunnels, including a large number of bacteria. So far, we don't know. And hopefully we'll find out soon. That's one of the enigmas of our oceans, and there are so many more. I've put enough materials in my in Phil Mantle's book, Russia's USO Secrets, and I'll continue to look for answers and more enigmas too. If you like my research, please kindly support through the links you find in the description to this channel. Please like my videos. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.